The hot summer months have kept things interesting in the ARCA Racing Series. While the number 52 has kept his lead intact, the series has seen 3 different winners in the last 4 races. You never know what'll happen when the green flag waves. As the series heads to Iowa, will we have yet another winner? Will the 52 allow someone else to take command of the points lead? This is ARCA Racing, presented by Menards.
Welcome to Newton, Iowa. It's Stop 10 of the 2017 season with the ARCA Racing Series presented by Menards. This is the ARCA Iowa 150, and we can't wait to get things started here. It's also the 6th stop on the Sioux Chief Short Track Challenge.
And certainly at one of the best venues that we will see all year long with the ARCA Racing Series presented by Menards. An awesome facility, a great field of cars, and it's going to be fun to watch them here today.
The 6th stop on the Sioux Chief Short Track Challenge. Let's talk about this racetrack and where we're located.
Just over 15,000 people live right here in Newton, Iowa. We're located just 30 miles east of Des Moines, Iowa. And of course, Newton, home of Maytag Dairy Farms. But this racetrack, as we talked about, opened up in 2006. A D-shaped oval, 7/8 mile with progressive banking in the turns. 12 degrees down low, 14 degrees up on top, which means these drivers can move around the racetrack.
Yeah, it's a tricky place, and here's some former winners here at Iowa Speedway. Of course, the latest being Chase Briscoe, who won the championship a year ago, and Kyle Benjamin also picking up the pole a year ago. Kyle Weatherman 2 years ago, and Mason Mitchell, both of them in the field here. Mason winning back in 2015.
Yeah, Kyle Weatherman is one of those drivers in the field tonight that has been oh so close. He's ran second 2 times at Iowa Speedway, and today will be a teammate to his car owner, Mason Mitchell.
Yeah, should be a very, very good team. Speaking about qualifying, let's take you back and show you what happened there, courtesy of General Tire. It was Shane Lee who did a great job, came out here for the Cunningham team and put that one on top.
Second career pole for Shane Lee. First on a short track. He won the pole in 2016 at Chicagoland. You can see Vinnie Miller, Spencer Davis. Good to have those drivers back with ARCA. Dalton Sargent and points leader Austin Terrio rounding out your top 5.
Let's go down trackside with Bob Dillner. He's with the man who won the General Tire Pole Award.
The 22 is certainly fast tonight. Second career pole for Shane Lee, first of the season, but now the big question is, can you keep it up there?
We feel pretty confident as far as the race runs went, as what we did in practice. The car was good. The big time Cunningham Ford has been good from as soon as we unloaded the trailer. We sort of needed to go and get this pole. My sister and her husband decided to knock my pole award from last year off and shattered it, so I was 1 trophy less in the trophy room, so now we'll put this one in the collection.
Now he's hoping for an even bigger trophy with a big win here tonight.
Let's take a look at some of the drivers that have been hot as of late. Of course, our points leader, Austin Terrio, he has 3 wins on the season, but 2 of those coming in June. Dalton Sargent with a win on the season as well, but nothing in the month of June. And, of course, Riley Herbst picked up his first career win at Pocono.
Yeah, look at their average finish right there, 3.25 for Austin Terrio. His career average finish in the ARCA Racing Series is 3.45. He's led 87 laps this year, 49 of them were at Madison. So Austin Terrio, the points leader, has been on point and certainly going to be one to watch here at Iowa.
Very patient, just seems to know when to pull the trigger. We'll get them all started here in just a couple of moments from Newton, Iowa with the ARCA Iowa 150.
The ARCA Racing Series presented by Menards. Television broadcast is brought to you by Scott 1000, America's longest lasting roll of national brands. General Tire, anywhere is possible. And by Lucas Oil, made in America, sold to the world.
It is a beautiful day here for the ARCA Iowa 150 at Newton, Iowa. This racetrack will certainly be part of the show here today, and we'll test not only the crew chiefs, but also the drivers here, as it is definitely different on either end. Let's talk about the event we're going to have here today.
Iowa Speedway here in Newton, Iowa. It is round 6 of 11 for the Sioux Chief Short Track Challenge. Of course, we met our General Tire pole sitter, Shane Lee. 25 cars will make this event, 150 laps the distance. And of course, our defending winner is Chase Briscoe. We've never had a repeat winner with this series at this racetrack. And the only one we could have today is Mason Mitchell, the only former winner in the field. Let's get it back down trackside to Bob Dillner.
Guys, 8 tires in the pits for each of these teams here tonight, so we expect 2 pit stops, and I don't believe anybody will be doing a fuel mileage gamble and not stop for that second set. But the big X factor here tonight could certainly be the bumps on the racetrack, most notably right there in the tunnel turn. A lot of the drivers said it can really upset the race car right down there if you don't hit those bumps the right way, so that's something to keep an eye on in this race.
Here's a look at our starting grid. Shane Lee will lead him to the stripe alongside the young 19-year-old Vinnie Miller. Then it'll be Spencer Davis and Dalton Sargent in row number 2. Row 3 will be our points leader, Austin Terrio, alongside Kyle Weatherman. And in row 4, Brett Holmes, alongside Justin Fontaine, the 33 car.
Yeah, real good qualifying effort there for the Wintron Racing 33 of Fontaine. Former USAC Silver Crown winner here at Iowa, AJ Fike inside row number 5, alongside Michael Self making another ARCA start. There is Gus Dean, who's been fast as of late in the 32, Zane Smith. Sheldon Creed back with the ARCA Racing Series with Nick Higdon for Kimmel Racing there in row 7. And the always fast, look at this, row number 8, Christian Eckes and Riley Herbst.
Yeah, 2 young talents there, fairly deep in the field. Mason Mitchell, the 2015 winner here, back in row 9 alongside Moose, Thomas Prater, Mike Basham, and Kevin Hinkle. In row 10, Brad Smith, Eric Cadell, Ron Cox, and Zach Ralston back here making a start. And to round out the field will be the 06 of Con Nicolopoulos. Weather here is beautiful outside, 84 degrees Fahrenheit, just a small breeze, and we expect beautiful skies for the entire race.
Which is exactly what we're looking for. No rain in the forecast.
And you never know when you come here, man. It could be anything, for sure. All right, so Shane Lee chooses the outside. The green flag flies, and we are off. This place really races like a super speedway, just a little under 1 mile, as you talked about. Boy, it will really tax these tires and these drivers. The setups have to be spot on. Patience will be key here. And what I love about this place is these guys have to drive these cars. They're already a little loose as tire pressures no doubt are coming up.
Yeah, that was Vinnie Miller right there, as you see from Kyle Weatherman getting past to the inside by the 25 of Spencer Davis. So Weatherman falls back to 5th. Yeah, Vinnie Miller getting a little loose last time around in 3 and 4.
Yeah, great to have Vinnie Miller, Spencer Davis back out here like you were talking about before. And some of these names, some of these young guns have been running the super speedways. We haven't seen them in the Sioux Chief Short Track Challenge races as we go on board with our points leader, Austin Terrio, who now has 3 wins on the season, including at our last event. He's done it on super speedways. He's done it at short tracks. Just seems to be able to get the job done no matter what. Let's get it over to Bob Dillner.
Guys, there are 3 former Iowa Speedway winners in tonight's show here at this racetrack. Number 1, Mason Mitchell. Back in 2015, he actually won the ARCA race at this racetrack, which is his home track. Another guy that we're going to have to keep an eye on is Michael Self in the 28, a former winner here in the NASCAR Can-Am Pro Series competition. He has a very fast race car here today. And then there's AJ Fike battling in the top 10 in points this year. AJ Fike is a former Silver Crown winner here. So a lot of people think those guys have a little experience here. Of course, Fike in open wheel, but Michael Self as well as Mason Mitchell, they may have the upper hand, at least early in this race.
We'll see how things shake out as they work their way through this event. Shane Lee right now, though, having an advantage. Boy, he has checked out. He is driving away as we speak. Comes in here 4th in the points. He's had an up-and-down season. Started things off on the podium at Daytona, but then also had a couple of tough rounds, including a couple of big wrecks.
Great battle here. You see a 3-car battle. That 33 of Justin Fontaine up on that outside part of the racetrack as we go on board with Gus Dean, who looks like he's going to shoot the gap to the inside on Zane Smith, who's in the 55.
Of course, Gus Dean and Brett Holmes have been in a vicious battle for the Scott Rookie Challenge. Riley Herbst, Zane Smith, Eric Cadell also in that battle. Of course, Riley and Zane not able to compete at all the events, so we'll have to wait till that entire challenge gets to the end of the year to find out how the points really shake out.
Yeah, Gus Dean doing a great job there for Wintron Racing. 7 straight top 10 finishes, and if you take out the first 2 races of the season, this kid's got a good shot to win this title.
No doubt, he has been very consistent for sure. Guys are a little bit loose as they kick this one off. Should be exciting. Stay with us. We'll be right back. The spotters high above helping these drivers out here at the ARCA Iowa 150. We're at Iowa Speedway. It is a gorgeous afternoon here. And as you can see by looking out of the windshield here, this place races big. It is a big, very, very fast track. And as I was saying before, I love it because you cannot run this track on the mat. You've got to work the throttle and carry as much speed as possible. It comes back to car setup and also to the driver's ability, as you see Ron Cox in the number 3 car unfortunately pulling off early.
Yeah, Ron Cox has made 164 career starts since 1987 with the ARCA Racing Series. As we go back up front to Shane Lee. Lee ran over 300 laps Wednesday night on iRacing, he said. Felt like I knew the place before I even walked in.
Well, that's exactly what that's for. I mean, it's really good, and a lot of these guys, if not all of them, spend a lot of time on those simulators. Dalton Sargent currently in second place and also second in the points as well. Talked about him picking up a win earlier in the year. He did it at Salem, the high banks of Salem, which was our second Sioux Chief short track challenge.
Yeah, and he ran 4th here at Iowa Speedway with ARCA last year. As we move to 4th place, Austin Terrio, our points leader. We've talked about Terrio all year. That car seems to come alive towards the end of the race. He's very well known for saving his race car and making it work when it counts, and he's done that. That's why he has 3 wins under his belt.
Yeah, you talked about the consistency of Gus Dean. How about Austin Terrio? Only out of the top 5 2 times so far this season. One of those a 6th at Toledo, and the other one, we call it a tough round for him at Pocono. He finished 9th, but I mean, he's had an incredible run, no doubt about it. And the 12 car right there of Sheldon Creed looked like he might have lost the nose. Maybe a little bit of air taken off of that front splitter and lost the nose a little bit. Of course, Sheldon Creed, just a wealth of talent, and you can't judge everything by the numbers based on results. I'm telling you, the young man, that kid has some incredible talent behind the wheel.
Yeah, from the outside to the inside, they're entering turn number 3, trying to put a move on Smith there in that 55. Both those drivers making their first start here at this racetrack with the ARCA Racing Series.
Well, look at that thing close up as they enter the center of the turn there, trying to keep some air on that front splitter.
And that's the beauty of the progressive banking that they have here. As we mentioned off the top, 12 degrees down low, 14 up on top. These guys can run side by side for a lot of laps, and we're seeing that right now with Sheldon Creed just as fast down low as Zane Smith is running through the middle.
Zane Smith, another young gun out here who is so talented and has really started to put it together in that last handful of races. Toledo finishing 4th, 6th at Elko, and then followed that up with another 4th place finish at Pocono, and then a career best at Madison when he finished in 2nd place with a 55 car, driving for that Venturini team and Toyota development driver.
Yeah, and Sheldon Creed's going to run a total of 9 events this year with MDM. He's already ran 3 tonight, number 4. So 5 to go with the ARCA Racing Series presented by Menards for that red and white number 12 of Sheldon Creed. You can see again, just trying to bonsai down into turn number 3 and just doesn't have quite enough momentum to get underneath Zane Smith and make a move.
And that's okay if your car's working well, but if it's not, you're chewing up the tires, so sometimes it's better to just be patient. Again, let's go down to Bob Dillner.
Kyle Weatherman has a very good car early in this race, but the day didn't begin that way for the 78 team. That car was out to lunch in practice, so Kevin Reed and that team changed everything, including the kitchen sink, to make it better. Kyle told us he loves this racetrack. It's his favorite. He's finished 2nd here twice, and he believes that one back in 2015 is the one that got away. He's hoping tonight it doesn't get away, and he goes to victory lane.
Yeah, Bob, it was Mason Mitchell, his car owner, who passed him on the last lap to win here at Iowa Speedway. If you go back to 2013, it was Grant Enfinger who got him with just a handful of laps to go to win here at Iowa. So, as we said earlier, Kyle Weatherman, the driver that has been so close here at this racetrack, just not there at the end.
Yeah, and Weatherman also the 2015 Sioux Chief Short Track Challenge Championship winner as well. So he knows how to get around these short tracks, does a really good job. He is an extremely talented driver as well, not running all the events this year, so not in the hunt in the points per se, as he comes in here 14th in the points, but always a threat to win anytime he shows up.
Another threat when he shows up is this man right here, Michael Self, running in that 7th position for Matthew Miller and MDM. 5 career ARCA starts since 2014. He's ran 3rd twice. And he's looking pretty good here early in that 28 car as he gets in and out trouble for Self.
Turns it sideways. Yeah, he finished on the podium, finished 3rd at Pocono, and got down in there and just lost the air on the side of the car and spun that thing around, backed it into the wall. He has an incredibly talented spotter up on the box for him, who he met actually earlier today, and that would be Robbie Fast, who also spots for Scott Dixon. He works full-time for Chip Ganassi and spots for Kyle Larson as well, so he has a great guy up on the box. But let's go back and see if we can figure out what happened here to Michael Self.
Yeah, I think he was just trying to not hit that number 25 of Spencer Davis. As you can see, he got a pretty good run entering into turn number 3, dives down to the bottom part of the racetrack, and then probably the 25 comes down a little bit, and I think Self just didn't want to run into him. Just runs out of real estate.
And we'll see how hard he backs this thing up into the wall. I mean, that's a pretty decent lick right there. Hopefully just cosmetics and didn't get into that left rear too hard as we take a look at it one more time. And yeah, he just got down in there, and I mean, right beside him. And like you say, quite possibly the 25 car, Spencer Davis, maybe closed down just a little bit. Hard to say, but just didn't want to get into him.
You heard Bob mention he won NASCAR K&N East race here at Iowa Speedway. And here we go, handful of cars coming into the pit area.
So this always changes things up here as we get it back down to Bob Dillner. As you well know, Bob, this will play tire strategy.
Michael Self, one of the favorites coming into this one, having trouble with this machine. His team telling me every time the engine revved up and hit that rev chip, it would actually shut the engine off. So Michael Self having a little difficult times here early in the going, and now you can see the damage from the incident on the racetrack. So Michael Self, he's a former winner here at Iowa, having trouble early in this race.
See him getting the tape out there to try and fix the back of that up, and hopefully doesn't go too many laps down here. There's a look at your top 5. Your number 1 qualifier, Shane Lee, driving for Cunningham, followed by his teammate, are leading the group. And we're back here at the ARCA Iowa 150. Unfortunately, just had a incident with Michael Self, who turned it around and backed it into the wall, had to come down into the pits and get things fixed up, see if he can get back out there on the track and catch up with the group. Beautiful shot there. Of course, the heartland of America, and those cornfields are absolutely beautiful. Flagman telling them 1 to go.
Yeah, Michael Self and his teammate Sheldon Creed already testing at Lucas Oil Raceway in Indianapolis for the next ARCA Racing Series event. He'll be back in that number 28 in a few weeks.
Another Sioux Chief Short Track Challenge event. Of course, all part of the Brickyard weekend there in Indianapolis. It'll be a big, busy weekend for all of these drivers as well. Great showcase. Great time to showcase your talents, I should say. Trying to keep a little bit of heat inside of those tires. Everybody sashaying back and forth. And, of course, the pace car bringing them around here at speed. So the Cunningham car is having a great run here at the start of this one, and Michael Self is going to get back out here. As we talked about there, a couple of starts in 2017 and did finish 3rd at Pocono. Very impressive effort there out of Michael Self. Won here in 2013 with the K&N car.
Yeah, and also want to mention we saw the 15 of Christian Eckes, who started back in 15th. He did come in and pit. Looked like he was taking 4 tires, so on a little bit different strategy, starting deep in the field. He's going to try and get up here in a hurry on fresher tires.
Yeah, we're not used to seeing Christian Eckes deep in this field, and leave Riley Herbst back there as well. So both of them struggling just a bit with 2 excellent teams, of course, Venturini and Gibbs, respectively.
Shane Lee back out front. His teammate Dalton Sargent right behind him as they run 1-2 down into turn number 3.
And you said it before, I mean, this place is very racy, but you can't get up there in the gray. If you get up there in the gray, you will scuff the wall here if you're lucky. If not, you'll smack the wall.
Yeah, and that outside groove will come in as the sun goes down here at Iowa Speedway, but you have to get cars up there to lay down some rubber. We talked about Kyle Weatherman, who got up to the top by accident, he said, but after you keep doing it, lay some rubber down up there, the top is pretty fast, and unfortunately, he wasn't able to pull off the win, but he's the guy that kind of set the mark to show later in the race, you can run 3 wide here, no problem.
4 good cars right there. Terrio in the white 52 looks like he's going to get gobbled up. They go 4 wide. Weatherman up in the top, trying to keep it off the wall, and does so. Wow, talk about exciting right there. All 4 drivers doing a great job. Gustine down on the bottom in that Wintron car, the 32 car right on the bottom, also doing a great job not to get up into those guys as we go on board with him currently in 5th place.
Yeah, that was Vinnie Miller there touching wheels, I believe, with the 52 of Austin Terrio as you go on board with Gus Dean. You can see Weatherman there in the 78. There's Terrio to the 52, and right behind him is that 41 of Vinnie Miller.
Yeah, Vinnie Miller and Riley Herbst had some contact going back at Michigan. Riley was struggling with a couple of things, and the wall was one of them. So tough round there for the young man.
This is a 4-car battle for 3rd place.
And nobody's going anywhere. It's been a 4-car battle.
You can see the sun setting as shade pretty much through 3 and 4 all the way down the front stretch into turn number 1, but still some sun coming off turn 2 down the back chute. Let's get it back down to Bob.
Guys, it hasn't been the best of days for point leader Austin Terrio. Before they even got on the racetrack, they had to replace the engine in that machine when the original motor locked up when they were warming it up before practice. And now during the race, he says he has a little bit of a brake vibration, and it doesn't go well over the bumps down in 1 and 2. So a bunch of little issues today for Austin Terrio, but he's still in the top 5 and holding on.
There's probably a pretty good chance that all the drivers are saying the car's not going over the bumps well. I mean, it just upsets them. The cars don't feel comfortable to the drivers, but everybody's dealing with the same issues. And right now, Terrio obviously doing a great job, as you talked about before, battling for a top 5 as we go on board with Kyle Weatherman. By the way, you can see on the right-hand side the supports for the legs as the 88 car turns around. Mason Mitchell, the 2015 winner, spins that one completely around.
Yeah, don't know exactly what happened there. We'll take a look at it here shortly, but not what we expect to see in that Carl Chevrolet number 88 driven by Mason Mitchell. Let's go back and take a look.
Oh, and it looked like maybe he got up there. Maybe he just got high enough that he got into Zane there with the 55 car and it turned him. And not to say that it's Zane's fault. Maybe Mason just kept going up and Zane was out of room because it was right up by the wall. Kind of a tough view for us to make a real call on what happened there. Nonetheless, Mason Mitchell in trouble right there. So he's going to have a long day here to recover and, of course, loves this race coming out of West Des Moines.
Yeah, just down the road, his hometown, and he's got more laps here in an ARCA car than anybody. This is his 5th career ARCA start at Iowa Speedway. Sheldon Creed in the pits, and we could see a handful of the front runners coming in for tires.
United Rentals on that Toyota here this weekend. Congrats to Sheldon Creed, picking up some sponsorship and keeps plugging away at the deal. And there's a look at the Joe Gibbs entry driven by young Riley Herbst, sponsored by NOS Energy Drink and UFC Gym. The number 18 rolls off, and Zane Smith right behind him. Constantly talk about those 2 young kids growing up together, their fathers working together, and Zane's father being a team manager for Riley's father. Longtime family, friends, for sure.
Mason Mitchell in and back out onto the racetrack. Got the damage fixed up there. Michael Self looks like he is back in. Of course, tonight's Scott Rookie Spotlight driver there for MDM Motorsports.
And you can see he's got the baseball bat out, and they'll run that thing right around the tire and flare that fender back out. So obviously the fender getting into the tire.
Yeah, certainly an unscheduled pit stop for that 28 team here on our 2nd caution of this event at Iowa Speedway.
Got up into the wall earlier. Looks like they'll also top it off here to take advantage of that.
Michael Self still a threat. Do not count out that 28 car, Sinclair Oil on the side.
Yeah, he's a talented young gun, no doubt about it. 27 years old. And once again, we'll get it back down to Bob Dillner. He has more.
It's been a disastrous start to Mason Mitchell's race here. Incident now to bring out this caution period. The team changes all 4 tires, but Mason reported that prior to that caution, he could not even touch the wheel. The car was so loose it wanted to spin out everywhere on this racetrack.
So Mason Mitchell chasing the setup here early on in this one. Fortunately for him, there's a caution flag, so he could do it. There's a look at your top 5. We'll be right back. On board with Riley Herbst there with the ARCA Iowa 150. We're here in Newton, Iowa, and Iowa Speedway. The sun just started to set. Take a look at that out of the windshield. Talk about something to impair your vision while you're running out here just under 200 miles an hour. And take a look at the number 9 car, and that is Thomas Prater. They call him the Moose. Finished 15th here 1 year ago.
94th consecutive ARCA Racing Series presented by Menards Series start here tonight at Iowa Speedway for Thomas Prater. Comes into this race 9th in the points. Still looking for his first top 10 of the year. And speaking of the points, let's take a look at our championship points prior to this race at Iowa. Austin Terrio, as we mentioned, up on top. Dalton Sargent, who's running in the top 3 right now, second, 175 points back. Terrio's been so consistent. Looks like at this point, he's just going to check out with his title.
Riley Herbst with that win from Pocono, able to leapfrog Shane Lee for 3rd place. Shane down in 4th, Brett Holmes in 5th, and Gustine in 6th. And those guys have been swapping positions as well for the Scott Rookie Challenge, as we talked about before. That's been a vicious battle, which has its own point scenario as well. So that point scenario just a little bit different because Gustine comes in here leading that one, 220 points, just by 2 points over Brett Holmes.
Yeah, and for the Scott Rookie Challenge, it is your best 15 races. So that'll shake it up once we get to race 16 for this year's schedule. Again, only 20 scheduled this year with the ARCA Racing Series as we are set to go green once again, coming off our 2nd caution of the day.
Shane Lee likes the outside, and we'll try it here one more time. A good start down there on the inside for Dalton Sargent. Their teammates, of course. Oh, and Shane Lee way up high in the gray. Had to check up a little bit and bring that car back down, and somehow takes over the lead. That was an incredible comeback. 2nd
career ARCA start here at Iowa for Dalton Sargent. His 4th overall here at this racetrack, and now trouble entering turn 3. Nick Higdon into the outside wall, and that number 69. The Crosley TNT Construction Toyota for Kimmel Racing. Yeah, finished 11th at Toledo. Tough driver for sure. Typically, drivers progress through the short tracks and graduate to the super speedways, but Nick started off with success at the super speedways and now coming back to run the short tracks. The 69 car looks like it's going to be okay as he dives down to pit road. Let's go back and take a look, see if we can figure out what happened here to the 69 Crosley entry. Nose to tail up there, and I don't see anybody underneath him just yet. Here comes Self, and man, he just turned that one down to the bottom of the track and lost it all by himself. Yeah, got loose right in front of a lot of race cars, and he's very lucky that they all missed him. Backs it into the wall just a little bit. It's going to upset that deck lid, and of course the rear spoiler as well. Yeah, pretty amazing he didn't get run into right there. One of the composite cars out here, 3,300 pounds. And that Ilmor 396 power plant underneath the hood. Great looking cars for sure. So that one comes down to pit road as AJ Fike is also on pit road taking some tires. Let's get it down to Bob Dillner. He's on pit road as well.
Kyle Weatherman brings his number 78 car down pit road to the attention of his team. It'll be a 4-tire stop. A lot of people think this might be a little bit too early. A chassis adjustment and an air pressure adjustment to try to tighten up that car just a little bit for Kyle Weatherman at this stage of the game.
Yeah, you talked about him finishing second here a couple times, finished ninth here 1 year ago as we go back and take a look at the number 88 of Mason Mitchell. And, of course, Kevin Reed up on the box for him. So talented. What a great group together. And look at that right front, man.
That car is beat up.
Bashed in. And as we talked about, this place races like a super speedway. So aero here is very, very critical.
Yeah, and walking through the pits, talking to the teams and the drivers, some will say it races like a super speedway. Some say they like it because it's big, but it races like a short track. Spencer Davis said earlier today, it might sound crazy, but Iowa kind of reminds him of a dirt track. Takes on a ton of rubber and changes throughout the race.
Let's take you back to our last event, another Sioux Chief Short Track Challenge. It was at Madison, Wisconsin, and boy, was it a blast. Another gorgeous evening. As you can see, Zane Smith and the 55 car out front. The 15 car, another young gun, that was Christian Eckes right back behind him. One of the restarts, it was a Wintron cars, 1 and 2 on the front row, and Tanner Thorson on the 25 car made his debut, and boy, did he have a hot rod.
He put on a show at Madison, that's for sure. First time on the pavement with the ARCA Racing Series, but again, you see that 52 for Ken Schrader Racing. Our points leader, Austin Terrio, slowly, methodically making his way to the front, and he would pick up the win at Madison. Win number 3 for 2017. Average finish for that man, I know we saw it earlier. For the month of June, 3.25 in his career with 11 career ARCA starts, 3.45. Right now, Austin Terrio runs second. Everyone chasing the Cunningham Motorsports Ford, driven by Shane Lee.
And once again, we welcome you back here to the ARCA Racing Series presented by Menards and the ARCA Iowa 150. Ken Stout and Rob Klepper here to call the action for you. Couple of cautions inside of this one so far, but the Cunningham cars have been out front the entire time. Shane Lee, qualifying on the pole, has been restarting from the outside, but Austin Terrio, who said he was struggling with his car, has magically worked his way to second.
Yeah, you see that 77 of Dalton Sargent, who will restart third alongside Christian Eckes. Both Sargent and Shane Lee threw out the first pitches at the nearby Iowa Cubs game at Principal Park in Des Moines last night. Putting on a show here as well at Iowa Speedway as they will restart first and third.
We mentioned Shane Lee and Dalton Sargent's team owners. The Cunningham's there, of course, but how about that 52 car? Our points leader, Austin Terrio, that is a Ken Schrader car. Oh, man, and he leans on Shane Lee. Dalton Sargent with a tough restart there, but somehow Shane Lee again gets a big drive off of turn number 2.
Yeah, Vinnie Miller looked like he was going to drive right by Dalton Sargent for that fourth spot. Sargent using that outside line. It's coming in as the sun is setting, able to stay side by side. Here comes Weatherman, 3 wide, down into 1 as they go for fourth.
Weatherman in the 78 car trying to make it work on the bottom, and Vinnie Miller gets loose right there. Oh, and he gets up into him. It looks like some damage there. He's going to lose part of that front splitter, which could be critical out here in this racetrack. Guys battling hard here at the beginning of this race.
Spencer Davis there in that number 25, now working to the inside of Vinnie Miller. Got Gus Dean right behind him as they battle for that 7th position.
And Vinnie Miller washes up the track just a little bit, and that might be that damage that he has there on the front of the car. The 25 car as well washes right up there underneath him, Spencer Davis. So this restart, very exciting here this particular time. Let's get it back down to Bob Dillner.
For the second straight year, Christian Eckes has had trouble and had to start at the rear of the field. This time, a locker in the rear end actually broke, and they had to change that. And because they actually did that after qualifying, he had to start in the rear. Well, he worked his way up to a top 5 spot, but that car right now is wicked loose. Jeff McClure, his crew chief, telling me he's kind of hanging on right now, but they do like the position that they're at. They're planning to pit the next time we have a caution.
10 series starts here for Christian Eckes. Finished 11th here. It's one of the tracks he ran a year ago.
Yeah, qualified second in that event. Actually had a spark plug wire coming off. Had a little bit faster car than his results showed as we go on board with second place Kyle Weatherman in that number 78 for Mason Mitchell Motorsports. Always a bridesmaid, never a bride here at this racetrack for Weatherman. Pretty good hot rod here tonight, though.
Yeah, he's had a couple of really good race cars here this year. We go back on board with Riley Herbst Well, listen in here. You see how long he is off the throttle and then just squeezes back on. Tries to carry a little bit of throttle through the center into the exit off that turn and then pick the throttle back up down the straightaway, if you want to call it a straightaway. Still a little bit of arc to it there in the front.
Vinnie Miller, Gus Dean, Zane Smith still going at it. You saw him drive around the 06 of Con Nicolopoulos.
And if you're wondering, yes, they did change numbers. Con typically in the 0 car, in the 06 here in this race. And Mark Munier driving the 0 car. And again, just out of the throttle there for a long time. Trying to carry as much entry speed as possible.
Yeah, Herbst ran here with the K&N Series. Never run with ARCA here at Iowa Speedway. Up front, though, Shane Lee feeling some pressure from Weatherman. Sheldon Creed up there as well.
Sheldon, his 4th start here this year. Started off at Nashville, finished 6th, and then 8th at Pocono. And as we said before, really the finish number is not always a good indicator of how good these guys are. He is a multi-time champion in the off-road truck area and can certainly throw it down with anybody, as Riley now making a charge to the front here as well. And boy, the 25 car right up on the back bumper, no doubt could loosen up that 18 car.
Yeah, Riley with a nice move there coming off turn 4 to get underneath Spencer Davis in the 25 to take over that position, and has already pulled away a couple car lengths, though. You see Davis try and drive it in underneath him in turn 3. Back up front, 2nd place, Kyle Weatherman. That is your leader. Shane Lee right in front of him. Weatherman running a little bit lower. Might get into his fender here coming off 2.
Good run, and you've got to think that Weatherman's car is just handling very nicely to get it down there.
Clears him into 3, so new leader, Kyle Weatherman out front. And here comes Sheldon Creed in the 12.
Boy, and Creed playing that one perfectly with the lapper. Never had to check up. I thought he might have to check up a little bit, but was able to stay in the throttle.
Yeah, great move for Kyle Weatherman. Also Sheldon Creed to get by Shane Lee to go on board with our new leader.
Started to talk about this before, that big piece of metal with the holes in it right there. That is a leg brace for these guys to give their legs some support. Big deal, really a big deal, especially if you get into a bad wreck. You don't want stuff flying around inside of the cockpit, but it also gives those guys something to lay their leg against as they carry some huge G-loads all the way around here every single lap.
Austin Terrio in 4th position. Pretty much likes to hang out around the top 5 in the entire race, usually with about 20 or 30 to go. We'll see that 52 come alive. And he talked to his crew chief, Donnie Richardson, and he'll tell you, oh, now trouble for Caudell in that 2 car. And caution comes out now for the 4th time here at Iowa Speedway.
Driving for Wayne Hickson, Hickson Construction, Eric Cadell. Eric Cadell making all the events so far this year. Comes in here 12th in the points. Still looking for that first top 10. Did not get it up into the wall. One of the steel-bodied cars here. We'll go back and take a look at what happened here to Eric. Off in the distance here, right down there on the bottom, and unfortunately just comes around on him. Locks it down as quickly as possible and able to keep it off of the wall. Nobody getting into him. Turns it back around the right direction. Pull it down there into pit road and see if he can get some of those flat spotted tires replaced.
Yeah, he's run the old United States Super Truck Series a lot of years. Ran here at Iowa, ran in Milwaukee, Nashville, so has a handful of laps of this racetrack and just lost it a little bit there coming off the turn.
Owns Cadell Consulting and Marketing. Cadell has a wealth of experience in the energy industry with a particular focus on the blending of renewable resources into gasoline and biodiesel fuels. So heavily involved here on the backside of the industry, if you will. Pulls it down in there. Looks like the car will be okay for him to continue on once they get those tires changed. There's a look at the top 5. Now it is Weatherman out front, followed by Sheldon Creed and Shane Lee. Sun finally setting here at Iowa Speedway. It was beating these guys in the eyes pretty hard there for a few laps. But now this track will change drastically. The lights are on. It'll start to tighten up here with the ARCA Racing Series in the ARCA, Iowa 150.
And here come the leaders to pit lane. Time to get 4 tires.
Pretty cool for sure as you watch these guys come down pit road. Let's get it to Bob Dillner.
A surprise pit stop for Kyle Weatherman. They didn't think they would stop this early, but that team going to work on the 78. Meanwhile, the 22 of Shane Lee, Paul Andrews, his crew chief told me that car is a little bit tight, so they made a track bar adjustment as well as an air pressure adjustment. 4 tires for Shane Lee. He's got a very good car, looking for his first win in the ARCA Racing Series.
So Shane Lee down and away, and while they're making pit stops, we're going to bring you our Protect Plus mid-race recap. It was Shane Lee who qualified on the pole and led the group to the stripe.
Second career General Tire Pole Award for that Cunningham Motorsports number 22 Big Time Ford driven by Shane Lee, and he was out front early. Very fast race car. Here's the sunset at Iowa Speedway.
Michael Self unfortunately got there underneath the 25 of Spencer Davis and turned it around, backed it into the wall, and was forced down the pit road to make a change. And Mason Mitchell also having his fair share of issues here early on.
Caution number 3 was for the 69 of Nick Higdon, who lost it entering turn number 3. Very lucky to not get run into by the rest of the field. And here we go, the battle for the lead. Kyle Weatherman to the inside of Shane Lee. Sheldon Creed would take second. Lee would go from the first to third in 2 corners.
This mid-race recap is brought to you by Protect Plus, official licensee of DuPont Water and Air Filtration.
So 2 race leaders, Shane Lee, Kyle Weatherman, 4 cautions so far. Michael Self, Mason Mitchell, Nick Higdon, and most recently the 2 of Eric Cottle.
Bringing out the caution flag. You see the moon in the background as well, rising up here in Iowa. Just a spectacular evening for racing.
Definitely a great venue to come watch a race. You can see all the campers here this weekend, folks up on the hill in the main grandstands. Certainly not a bad seat in this entire place. Now this track kind of designed after Richmond International Raceway, though it is a little bit bigger here at Iowa. D-shaped oval, progressive banking as we mentioned, just an awesome racetrack for sure.
So much fun to watch these guys go racing here, and so much different from the previous short tracks that they have been on. And that's the beauty of the ARCA Racing Series presented by Menards. It's a little bit of everything here if you run this entire season, as once again we go on board there with Kyle Weatherman, kind of looking up at him there.
Weatherman looking for his first win of 2017, has a very fast hot rod and a special fan on board with him tonight. For more on that, let's get it down to Bob Dillner, who was with Kyle earlier today.
Kyle Weatherman always good on the short tracks, and especially here at Iowa where he has 2 second-place runs. But today you sounded a little bit emotional during practice, and I asked you why. Why don't you tell the folks what you told me?
Yeah, so if you guys actually look on the back of the race car, we have Will on the race car. And he's a kid in the hospital, and he's in need of a heart. And I actually went and saw him last night. And for him to be so strong and happy and you know upbeat for everything that he's got going on gave me a lot of strength. And it's definitely going to help out tonight. And definitely going to be thinking about him all night. And you know this race is for him. So hopefully we can put it in victory lane tonight for Will. And that's what we're going to do.
50th career start in ARCA for Kyle Weatherman. And this is, after all, his favorite track. What a story that would be, guys.
Yeah, we get caught up in our day-to-day activities and sometimes lose track, but boy, it really brings perspective to everything you're doing in your life whenever you meet somebody like that. It's really cool when the drivers have a chance to go spend some time with these young individuals and see how positive they are, and the drivers bring a smile to their hearts. It makes their day, and honestly, truth be known, typically it's the kids that really inspire the drivers. So once again, fanning back and forth, trying to keep a little bit of temperature in those front tires. Sheldon Creed there in the 12 car up on the front row alongside the 18 car of Riley Herbst.
Yeah, that last round of pit stops shook up the front end of this field. So Sheldon Creed scored as your leader in that number 12 car, has chosen the outside lane. He'll be alongside Riley Herbst as we get set to go green once again here at Iowa. Zane Smith back there in that third spot in that 55, and it looks like Herb spins the tires. Great restart for Creed.
Yeah, Herbst, no doubt, wagged the tail. He's going backwards quickly. Creed with a beautiful job on that restart. Here comes Zane Smith, as you talked about. The 55 car down on the bottom, the Venturini entry, and the 25 car of Spencer Davis up top now takes over second place. And it looks like that second lane is really coming in nicely.
They
Three
can see him
wide in the
three
back.
wide. Yeah, how about that? Dalton Sargent inside of Vinnie Miller. Michael Self behind him. Mason Mitchell. Gus Dean going at it.
I mean, that's a talented group of drivers and really fast cars there in the back. Here comes Self right down on the bottom, on the line.
Yeah, that 28 car turning very good on this restart. Now to the inside of early leader Shane Lee as they got shuffled back for those pit stops last time by.
Yeah, their strategy a little bit different here than some of the other guys after spinning out and hitting that wall, of course, coming to pit road a little bit early. So it changes everything.
Kyle Weatherman now to the inside of Spencer Davis to take over second.
Opens that turn up, carries it right up by the wall.
You can see him on the ticker on top there, right out of second between Creed and Weatherman. Creed got, as you mentioned, an awesome restart. Christian Eckes up to third, Sargent fourth, and Davis now rounds out your top five. And here comes Sargent again now to the inside of Terrio.
Yeah, now Sargent with clear track gets out of the middle. He was the meat and the sandwich back there, if you will. Now has a clean run, drives down underneath a couple of players, including Riley Herbst, and Michael Self's going to follow him right along. Drive down underneath the 25 car, Spencer Davis. Another Venturini entry. And you can hear that thing bobble right at the very end of the straightaway. That's what Bob Dillner was talking about whenever he said it hits the chip. There's a RPM limiting chip inside of that ECU. It'll only allow that engine to turn so many RPMs, and they gear these things so that they will be as close to maximum at the end as possible. In fact, a little bit over. So it'll bounce off that chip just a little bit. And that's when they said that Michael Self was actually struggling a little bit. The car was shutting off.
Oh, it's not shutting off now.
Weatherman trying to slam the door on him, and Self says, no way, man, I'm going to the point.
He put the same move on Dalton Sargent that he did on Kyle Weatherman to take over second. Now he tries to run down our leader, Sheldon Creed.
There's an onboard shot of him. He's having a great run here now as he aims for the front of the field. Stay with us. We'll be right back with more great racing action courtesy of the ARCA Racing Series presented by Menards. We're back here at Newton, Iowa with the ARCA Racing Series presented by Menards for the ARCA Iowa 150. Right now, Sheldon Creed is out front. You are on board with Michael Self, who's got a great hot rod all of a sudden, and he is charging to the front. Wow, talk about closing speeds. And he is off strategy from some of the other guys. So the tire's a bit fresher here for Self. And boy, is it paying off. And you can see the sparks flying out from underneath that car as well, up there in the gray and making it work there on the top shelf.
Yeah, right to the outside part of the racetrack. Takes the lead around the outside on Sheldon Creed, and Michael Self, our fourth leader of the day, gets it done, finds himself out front.
Robbie Fast, the spotter there for him, working him through traffic, gets him up to the point. And we're going to spotlight our Scott Rookie Challenge driver. It will be Michael Self, and he got off to a rough start here, Rob.
Yeah, started outside row 5 in the 10th position early in the race, around lap 19, into the fence, then into the pit area. The crew had to go to work on that 28 early.
Of course, they've got that car straightened out, and it looks like no damage to the suspension at all because he started charging to the front. First drives down underneath Eckes and Dalton Sargent.
Yeah, that car has been turning very well. One of the few guys that can go outside in through the corner and make it work. And Michael Self finds himself out front after getting around the outside, if you will, by the 12 of Sheldon Creed. So our fourth leader of the day is the MDM Motorsports number 28, driven by Michael Self.
Yeah, great effort there as he drove underneath Weatherman, then around the outside of Creed. Now Creed will fall back and lose another spot to the 77 of Dalton Sargent. Dalton Sargent back there, if you recall, in the thick of things on that restart as they were 3 wide deep in the pack. And he's managed to find his way up to the front as well.
Boca Raton, Florida driver ran fourth with this ARCA Racing Series presented by Menards last year here at Iowa Speedway. And just past the halfway point now, everyone kind of knows what they have setup-wise. Sun is down. Track temp's cooling off a little bit. Not a whole lot. It's been pretty warm here all day. As we go back to the early race leader, led the first 58 laps. Shane Lee to the outside there in 7th. Gus Dean for Wintron Racing and Gree Cooling Equipment down low in the 32.
Shane Lee, 4th in the points, 9 starts so far this season with 4 top 5s and 5 top 10s as he and Dean go side by side. Dean underneath him has the advantage as we speak right now, of course, in the 32 cars you talked about before. For Wintron, Kevin Sawinski, a former ASA champ. Kevin, a super guy, wealth of knowledge as well. And Gus Dean, 6th in the points, 4 top 5s for him as well, and 7 top 10s.
Yeah, 7 straight top 10s. Working number 8 here tonight at Iowa Speedway and feeling some pressure from Shane Lee as he got around him. And Shane Lee trying to fight back as they go around Kevin Hinkle there out of Kansas in the Kimmel Racing 08. Also around that 34 of Mike Basham from the Hoosier State, making his 6th start of the year.
As we go on board with Gus Dean, the current Scott Rookie Challenge points leader. You talked about that consistency he has found. Yeah, he struggled there. Just a couple of things had gone on and involved in an incident at Daytona, and then they had a mechanical issue whenever we went to our next stop at Nashville. Boy, they've really put it together since then as you take a look at Sheldon Creed in the 12 car. Austin Terrio just behind him.
Yeah, I was going to say,
points leader.
And guess what? There's that 52.
Just slowly keeps working his way to the front, huh? As we are past the halfway point. 82 laps in of 150.
Christian Eckes in that number 15 car for Venturini Motorsports. And feeling some pressure from Dean.
Yeah, Gus Dean had to hold that one down just a little bit. I think he had to check up just a little bit to keep from getting into the side of the 15 car. Christian Eckes, we constantly talk about him. What an exciting young driver. So much fun to watch. He's been so close to picking up wins here as well. 16 years of age. And Christian Eckes, just an absolute wealth of talent.
He's led more laps than anybody this year. In fact, he's led laps in every single race he's ran, all 5. Led a total of 272 laps. He's run 2nd, he's run 3rd, still looking for his first ARCA win.
We've seen him go from the front to the back to the front to the back to the front. I mean, all in one race. I mean, he can get it done. He's a lot of talent, and really surprised he hasn't grabbed a win yet. He's been very close. We certainly expect him to grab one before it's all said and done here this season.
Of course, won that big Snowball Derby 2016, then immediately signed by Toyota. They saw the talent in the young 16-year-old from Middleton, New York, and having a pretty good go at it here at Iowa once again.
Yeah, Jeff McClure up on the box for him as a crew chief. So much experience with Jeff, working with some of the best names of all time, including Todd Bodine, Hermie Sadler, trucks, Xfinity, NASCAR experience. We'll really be able to help out the young man as once again we go back on board with Gus Dean. That is a look at the ECU, by the way. They're on the dash that's handed to these guys when they get to the event. And, of course, that controls everything with the engine. Once again, let's go down to Bob Dillner.
Pretty impressive run so far, guys, for Sheldon Creed. Remember, started 13th, pitted early for tires, came right to the front. And yes, he lost the lead, but he's still running in the top 5. And that's a big improvement from where he was earlier in the day. Mark McFarland of that team told me he had a hard time getting used to this place. And Sheldon said, yeah, when I get to the racetrack, I got to take a lot of laps to figure out the line, figure out the throttle points and so forth. Well, guys, he's figured it out. Right now, he's holding on, though, with a little bit older rubber for another pit stop. But Sheldon Creed, the former off-road racer, having a whale of a run tonight.
Yeah, as we talked about, he's so sharp, so good. He's up there pretty high right now, and Terrio taking a look at him. Terrio's going to take a little bit of air off the back of that spoiler. Of course, that also takes some air off of his splitter in the front of his car. He checks up just a little bit to make sure he can get through the next set of turns. But Sheldon Creed, who spends so much time in the off-road truck, and the truck is the platform is so drastically different. It's so soft. I mean, the heel over in the turns, the left front tire will pick up in the air. It's just a completely different style of racing. So it's probably taken him a little bit of time to bounce between the two as, yep, things are about to get crazy. There's a full moon out here tonight. The 27-year-old Michael Self leads the group in the 28 car. We'll be right back with more great racing action. Welcome back to the ARCA Racing Series presented by Menards and the ARCA Iowa 150. Working the back half of this race here. Pretty good run working right here as once again we go on board and take a look at what the drivers are seeing.
Austin Terrio in the 52, right behind the number 12 of Sheldon Creed. Creed led 11 laps, as you see Vinnie Miller in the 41 to the right. And that's Brett Holmes in the number 23 to the outside in that blue and yellow car.
You had a shake-up with that team after we left Madison, Wisconsin in the crew chief department.
Yeah, Brian Berry left BHR and enter Sam Schramm as he returns to Brett Holmes Racing. He worked with this team last year for 7 races. They ended up with 3 top 5s, 6 top 10s. He's been with Lyra Motorsports, GMS Racing. He's worked with Kyle Weatherman, Grant Enfinger. So this is kind of lit a new fire, if you will, under this BHR team. And Brett Holmes said he's very excited to have Schramm back with him.
Of course, he was back there battling with Vinnie Miller, one of the young talents here at 19 years of age. That is the 52 car, and our points leader once again driving for Kenny Schrader, Austin Terrio, who drives down underneath Sheldon Creed. And Austin Terrio's in a perfect position. As you talked about before, as we looked at the points, he has a huge gap between him and second. He can certainly afford to be patient here, just waits, bides his time, and slowly picks away at it. Said he was struggling with that car and wasn't happy with it over the bumps, but needless to say, the car is very good, as he has been in the top 5 pretty much all night long.
And 2 more good cars right here. Kyle Weatherman and Gus Dean going at it for the 5th position. Let's get it back down to Bob Dillner.
I just spoke to Kyle Weatherman's crew chief, Kevin Reed, and they think they're sitting pretty at this point. They have a full set of tires still in their pit area. The last time they came down, they actually put some scuffs on from the earlier tires they used in this race. So a lot of tire strategy going on down here because tires mean so much in terms of speed, especially for about 5 or 10 laps, guys.
Well, we've seen it where the difference is only 15 or 20 laps, meaning somebody gets off strategy a little bit and they have tires that are 15, 20 laps newer, and it makes a massive difference having those fresher tires on. Also amazing to see how much higher these guys are running now than where they were at the start of this race. I mean, everybody's safely 2 lanes up, and honestly 3 lanes up. Kyle Weatherman trying to hang on to that one there as they just roll around the top end.
Yeah, Weatherman said this racetrack is very racy. If the bottom's not working for you, just move up a lane. If the middle's not working for you, just move up another lane. He said there's a lot of places that you can go if your car's not handling that good, searching around the racetrack to make it that much better. And I think that's what we're seeing at this point. Guys moving up on top, the sun's down, and rubber on the racetrack. Cars are hooking up a little bit better, maybe a little too tight to run down low, so they have to move up a lane.
Gus Dean playing that one perfectly, followed him right through and just drove down underneath him. Beautiful job at the side draft as well. Spotter tells him he's clear and rolls right back up to take away the line.
Yeah, the pavement version of a slide job right there. Gus Dean just drove right underneath him and cleared him. And then you can see Weatherman trying to fight back on the outside here off turn 2.
So the spotters are so critical, and spotters all up on top of the suites there. Beautiful vantage point, especially here at this racetrack. Nice big track, but the spotters can certainly see everything nicely here to help these drivers around. Gus is going to go down to the bottom and try it.
Whoa!
Maybe a little sideways right there. That's probably why he's been up at the top.
All right, we were jumping out just a little bit there on him. And
so instead of being tight, he might be a bit free.
Could be a little free, yep.
Well, free, or they call it loose sometimes. They like a free car. Free is fast, but boy, it can be a handful to drive.
Coming up on 50 laps to go here at the ARCA Iowa 150 with the ARCA Racing Series presented by Menards. As you keep an eye on Kyle Weatherman there in the 78, Gus Dean right behind him. Weatherman has finished second here twice, once to his car owner back in 2015 and once to eventual ARCA Series champion Grant Enfinger in 2013.
Vinnie Miller down on the bottom there, underneath Shane Lee in the 22 car. Vinnie in the 41 car. And that's it, 100 laps complete here as we'll work the final third of this race, and all the strategy will begin to play out now.
Yeah, Vinnie Miller running a handful of K&N Pro Series East races and 6 ARCA events for MDM Motorsports. Tonight is number 5. He'll wrap up his ARCA Racing Series at Kentucky Speedway for MDM. On board with the leader, catching up to the 23 of Brett Holmes to put him a lap down.
Michael Self doing a great job here as we go into the final 50 laps. Let's get it down to Bob.
Michael Self having him a whale of a race despite those problems earlier on. His crew chief sitting on top of the box is Chad Kendrick. Chad told me they have one set of tires left and they believe that the car is pretty balanced. But still, the problem that this team is having is that the car, the engine actually shuts off if they hit the rev chip. So what Michael is doing is he's backing off the throttle just a little bit in order not to hit that rev chip. So he's not going 100% on the racetrack, but still having a very good run. They are a series contender for the win here today. And remember, he's a former winner at Iowa and the NASCAR K&N Pro Series.
Well, and to be completely honest with you, I mean, the driver probably can't do that relatively easily out here on a track of this size. And it quite possibly might make him just a little bit faster rather than just sitting on the chip there at the end of the straightaway. Whatever it is, it's paying off, and he's doing a great job.
The ARCA Racing Series presented by Menards. Television broadcast is brought to you by Hers, Forever Good. Protect Plus, official license of DuPont Air and Water Filtration. And by Lucas Oil. Made in America, sold to the world.
On board with our race leader, that is Michael Self here with the ARCA Racing Series presented by Menards and the ARCA Iowa 150. 27-year-old sailed up to the front when he got off sequence after tagging the wall early on in this race. And has been up front for a while, but he's about to receive a challenge, and it's going to be from the 77 car of Dalton Sargent.
Self took over the lead from Sheldon Creed on lap 76, and here comes the 77, driven by Dalton Sargent. Not enough to clear him that time by.
Going to have to try it one more time as Self has the preferred line right now. Dalton Sargent gets down underneath him and looks like, well, no, he did not get him cleared.
And he's got his teammate right in front of him, I believe. That's the 22 of Shane Lee as they go side by side again for the lead. Sargent down low.
So can he use his teammate as a pick? And it looks like he is going to get him cleared this time. Shane Lee, who qualified on the pole, about to go a lap down.
Michael Self falls back to second as Dalton Sargent takes over the lead, gets it done, finds himself out front.
Way up there by the wall now, getting really close by the wall here in comparison to starting this race off down in the bottom, using the bottom 2 lanes, if you will. The 77 car goes up and around his teammate of Shane Lee.
Yeah, look at that. Michael Self drives very high into turn number 1, possibly overdrove the car on entry. Pretty close to that outside wall there in turns 1 and 2, trying to reel back in the leader. Now into the fence.
Tags the wall right there, and you said it, yeah, just driving in a little bit hot. No doubt getting the good out of those General tires and pressing them now. I'm sure hoping for a caution flag so he could get down there and take on a new set and finish the last 40 laps out. He's going to have to hang on for now.
Yeah, obviously losing a little ground to Sargent now as Self remains in that second spot, but he's got a pretty good lead here on third place. Sparks again as he drives it in, and he could have a tire going down.
There's a chance he broke a sway bar on that thing as well. As hard as he hit that wall, have to keep an eye on it.
Now right behind AJ Fike there in that 27, and will we see the 28 pull into the pit area? Doesn't do it that time.
Still on the throttle.
Yeah, it looked like for a second there maybe the right front was going down. But it seems like he is all good at this point. So he will remain in second, as we talked about, though, losing a lot of ground to Dalton Sargent. So you can see it sparking there through turns 3 and 4 again. Yeah, so definitely something wrong on that number 28, but it looks like he's going to try and race this thing to, hopefully in his mind, another caution can come out and he can get in and get that fixed as it continues to spark.
Shower of sparks for sure. I'm sure Bob Dillner will be all over that as well. And we'll get a report from him, an update on that car as well. So you take a look at Vinnie Miller. Once again, we talked about him before in that 41 car. Made his debut at Nashville. Has 5 top 10s working between the K&N Pro Series East and ARCA Racing Series. His first time here, qualified second in Michigan, led some laps before he and Riley Herbst had that deal together and still finished 10th. And much like Michigan, he also hit the wall at Toledo and still finished in the top 10.
On board with the 5th leader of the day, Dalton Sargent. For more on him, let's get it back down to Bob Dillner.
Just talking to Dalton Sargent's crew chief, Chad Bryant, and asked him if there's any damage to that race car after the contact with the 28 of Michael Self, and he doesn't believe there really is. In fact, they plan no changes on the next pit stop when we do have a caution. But he did actually go down from his pit stop and go down to the 28 pit to talk to Chad Kendrick, Michael Self's crew chief. They had a very amicable conversation, but Chad Bryant not too happy with the fact that he feels Michael Self kind of chopped the 77 on the racetrack.
Yes, they are racing hard for sure, and it happens. Let's see if we can take a look at what happened here. Does look like he pulled down there a lane or two, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's hard to tell if Sargent was kind of driving in hard, or it looked like he may have come down a little bit.
Might have come down a lane or two.
You want to protect. I mean, it's kind of how it goes. Gus Dean into the pits. Todd Myers calling the shots on the Gree Cooling Products number 32, and the team will go to work.
Once again, 6 guys allowed over the wall. Jack Mann, the last one there, and runs back around. The thing up in the air. So a 4-tire change here for the 32 car of Gus Dean. Clean that grill off. Like a little fire there inside of the right front wheel. Not uncommon. As soon as he gets going again, of course, the air will put that one out. Dalton Sargent still remains out front by more than 2.5 seconds. A lot of racing yet to go here as we are winding down to about the final 30 laps.
Yeah, almost like he's on cruise control at this point. That number 77, Cunningham Motorsports, Big Time Ford, very fast as we approach 30 laps to go here at Iowa Speedway. Again, he ran 4th in this race last year with the ARCA Racing Series.
And we're going to get it down to Bob Dillner. He has a little bit more on why Michael Self's car has all those sparks underneath.
Just got a report from the 2018 of Michael Self. They believe that they either have a right front tire going down, or after the contact with the wall, something is broken suspension-wise in the right front, and that's why he has slowed down a little bit. They're trying to hang on, hoping for a caution.
Once again, going on board with Michael Self, and I would think if the right front tire was going down, it would have gone down or be nearly flat by now. It's been a number of laps and still getting around there pretty good at speed. So we'll find out how he does, if he can hang on here to the end of the ARCA Iowa 150. We'll be right back. The exciting finish. Crew chiefs working hard here with the ARCA Racing Series presented by Menards at the ARCA Iowa 150. And of course, that is Michael Self's crew chief, and he has been busy here tonight, and he's curious to see if that car is going to make it to the end, because a lot of sparks coming out from underneath it there from Mr. Self would indicate something is broken mechanically inside of that car.
Yeah, Chad Kendrick doing a great job there on top of the box. Got that 28 in good position. Meanwhile, may have to worry about the 52, our current points leader for Ken Schrader Racing. Right behind him, Austin Terrio has reeled him in, and they will battle it out for second.
Less than 25 laps to go here in the 150-lap contest.
See Mason Mitchell there right in front of Self as Terrio goes to the inside.
Self not going away easily. Whatever is wrong with that car, he is dealing with it and really hanging on nicely. Bob?
Point leader Austin Terrio holding on right now. I just spoke to his crew chief, Donnie Richardson. Asked him, hey, is it tight? Is it loose? What is it doing? He goes, a little bit of both right now, and that's been the way that 52 car has been this entire day. He does have one set of tires in the pits, and they do plan on coming down if there's a caution, but you never know. This one may go green the rest of the way, and then they'll just hold on for another top 5 finish.
And again, we're on board with Self, and I know Self has a pretty good record going if he tags the wall. Still finishes in the top 10, and he's tagged the wall here tonight and currently running in third. And it looked like he wanted to tag it again.
Yeah, a little loose there coming off turn 2 as Austin Terrio has gotten by him, and you can see underneath the 55 of Smith, now looking to the inside of Christian Eckes. Eckes one lap down, as well as Zane Smith in the 55. So Terrio, who runs in second, as you talked about in the points, in a good position here at the halfway point in the season. But you certainly have to be smart.
Yeah, he just doesn't get rattled. He is very calm, very cool, and just keeps picking away at it.
Well, he said after the win in Madison, we don't always have the fastest car at the beginning of the race, but this team races smart. He said, we're good when it counts. And it certainly paid off for him in his 3 wins so far, and it looks like that's kind of where he's setting himself up here at Iowa tonight.
We go back up to the front, take a look at the 77 car. Dalton Sargent looking for his second win of the season.
Yeah, if you remember, he lapped the entire field at Salem to pick up his second career win. Also won at Berlin last year.
He'd be the second driver here this season with multiple wins. Austin Terrio, the only driver with more than one. The only team with more than one is Kenny Schrader, obviously, and Matthew Miller, the MDM team.
Yeah, 3 wins for MDM with 3 different drivers. Oh, and now trouble for Cottle once again in the 2. Will that bring out the caution? Yes, yellow lights are on, so the Oklahoma driver brings out our 5th caution of the day, and this could play into the 28's hand, Michael Self. Let's go back and take a look at what happened to the 2. Second time he has brought out a caution today. Right there, middle of your screen, just loses it coming off the corner, and Mike Basham right behind him in the 34 gets to the inside, so no harm, no foul for Eric Cottle.
Cars can really change a lot as they get late in their stints and become quite a handful. So fortunately, once again, just does not get up into the wall, and nobody gets into him, because it could have caused a lot of damage, needless to say, to multiple cars and his own car. Leader will come down onto pit road. Here comes Dalton Sargent, the Cunningham entry. Performance Plus, new colors on the side of that one. And once again, we'll go down to Bob Dillner, who will be busy here. This is what everybody was hoping for.
Dalton Sargent looking for his second win of the year. That team pretty happy with the car. Dalton said, free me up just a little bit. It'll be a Ford tire change for the team of the number 77 and a slight air pressure adjustment. Down here in the 52 pit, Austin Terrio looking for another win. A slight air pressure adjustment. What a race off of pit road.
Absolutely, side by side, as you see the 77 and the 52 duking it out back and forth, and I think it's going to be the 77 who's going to nudge him out. So congrats to that Cunningham crew for getting the job done quickly, because it was just that close when they were out there on the track as well.
Yeah, certainly do not want to get a pit road penalty at this point in the race, running in the top 2 for sure. So that'll probably put Sargent choosing the outside part of the racetrack with Terrio to the inside. Here's another look at it.
Now both guys going right to the edge, whatever that maximum RPM limit that they know they can run without speeding. And Terrio, like you mentioned before, I mean, perfect job there. I mean, he just couldn't get there, so the last thing you want is a pit road speeding penalty and have to bring it back in. So once again, we're going to take a look at the points here. Coming into this event, Austin Terrio leading by 175 over Dalton Sargent. And now number 1 and number 2 in the points are going to lock horns out here on the racetrack at the end of this one.
Yeah, I'm sure they're both hoping this is the last caution that we will see here in this race. Under 30 laps to go. Kind of a shootout now here at Iowa Speedway.
And let's show you how the points get broken down. If you win one of these events, you earn 235 points, 15 points more than if you finish in second place. You might ask yourself, how is it that Austin Terrio has a 175-point lead over the rest of the field? Well, the specialty points also play a huge role.
Yeah, 5 extra bonus points awarded to the General Tire Pole Award winner. You also get 5 points if you are credited with leading an official lap during a race. And if you lead the most laps during a race, you get another 5 bonus points, and that will certainly add up throughout the year.
77 car of Dalton Sargent, our current leader. Once again, our leader has chosen the outside lane here for the restart as they go side by side. Terrio finally getting that car happy, needless to say. Michael Self still there on the bottom. Sheldon Creed outside of row 2. And of course, as we talked about, the leader can choose the top or bottom lane, but then it falls back in line. So on the outside of the second row is actually 4th place, Sheldon Creed.
Yeah, it should be interesting to see if Austin Terrio can snooker the 77 on this restart and try and get the lead. Could be the last time to do it.
We've seen this happen before where it looks like the bottom row is going to hang on and take the lead, but it doesn't work out that way. The top lane gets it done, and here comes Dalton Sargent once again with the momentum and takes over the lead.
Yeah, Christian Eckes there for a moment going 3 wide with Self and Creed. Gets by the 28, still remains up on the top part of the racetrack as he'll slide in line there. Self trying to get to the inside as we go on board with the 28.
And still that shower of sparks coming out from the bottom of the 28 car and Michael Self somehow hanging on here inside of the top 5.
My guess is he absolutely does not care at this point because obviously he's just keep running that 28.
Well, there's no fixing it, so you just got to drive what you got, and he's doing a great job of that. 7 to go. Getting down to 6 to go. Christian Eckes now taking a look down below. Weatherman goes down to the bottom.
Oh, trouble up on top of turns 1 and 2 at Self again.
Wearing that wall out as he battles with that car, that ill-handling car, no doubt. On board with Eckes, looking forward. Coming up with 5 to go here. Oh, and Self says, I'm not done yet. This thing's all right.
Remember, Christian Eckes is 1 lap down in 7th. It looks like about 6 cars on the lead lap.
That was Vinnie Miller who shot down underneath him. Vinnie Miller still here in the hunt. And once again, let's go back down to Bob Dillner here at the end of this event with 5 to go.
Chad Kendrick, Michael Self's crew chief, just told me they have a broken sway bar on the front end of that machine. Michael Self going to be holding on in the final laps of this race.
No question, but he's been driving it that way for the last 30 laps or so I don't think any surprises coming at him now. It's just managing what he has. Vinnie Miller up on the back bumper.
Yeah, that is for position as Miller dive bombs him down to the inside at turn number 3.
And having a hard time with it. Self takes the lane away. Young man is driving hard. Obviously a lot of experience behind the wheel.
Yeah, Michael Self running K&N races. He's run ARCA races. He's run NASCAR Xfinity races. He was a driver coach last year for Justin Haley en route to the K&N Pro Series East Championship. So very good veteran, a race car driver, if you will, behind the wheel of that 28. Let's go back down to Bob.
Guys, when I spoke to Dalton Sargent here today, He said he doesn't know how the title chase is going to go. He knows that Austin Terrio has been so consistent. He said, it's my turn to apply some pressure on him. That's what I need to do for the remainder of the season. And that's what he's doing here tonight, going for his second victory of the year. He finished 4th here last year, just a couple of laps away from his first win at Iowa Speedway.
He'll come around here to pick up the white flag, and Austin Terrio doing exactly what Austin needs to do. Just continue to pound away in the top 5, top 3. Just keep getting it done. Up in front, the white flag waves, and Dalton Sargent looking for his second win on the season. It would also be the second win for the Cunningham team. He's done a beautiful job out here tonight. And there looks really comfortable so far. Working the wheel just a little bit. Squeezes on that throttle. Comes back around here and looks for that checkered flag, and he's going to do it. Congratulations to Dalton Sargent, picking up the win here at the halfway point of the season.
Tremendous drive for Dalton Sargent. Led 32 laps before the final 9 laps to get the win here at Iowa.
Oh yeah, very excited team. We'll be right back here in just a couple of moments to talk to our winner. Stay with us here at the ARCA Iowa 150.
The ARCA Racing Series presented by Menards television broadcast has been brought to you by General Tire. Anywhere is possible. Sioux Chief, America's manufacturer of plumbing. And by Lucas Oil, made in America, sold to the world.
Dalton Sargent doing some high-speed donuts out here for the fans with the ARCA Racing Series presented by Menards and the ARCA Iowa 150 as he brings home his 3rd career ARCA Racing Series win. Those are some high-speed donuts, man. Put on a show for everybody. So cool. Let's get it down to Bob Dillner.
Chad Bryant getting on the radio, and you said one word to Dalton Sargent, that you were proud. How about this victory?
This is what we needed right here. You know, we've had our ups and downs this season. Done a really good job at places, and we've had some terrible luck at some other places, just not done a good job. But this is where we really springboarded to our start last year to 6 in a row or 4 in a row, and then we ended up with 6 total. So I couldn't be more pleased with my whole group tonight. I got to thank everybody at Cunningham Motorsports. We had an awesome weekend, got the pole this weekend with the 22 car, and got the win with the 77. Really proud of it.
Second win in a row here at Iowa for Chad Bryant. Remember, he won here last year with Chase Briscoe.
You also have to keep in mind that that team has done an amazing job as we show you our race recap at rebuilding cars. They built about 3 cars, courtesy of some nasty wrecks along the way. It was a 22 car who's been in a couple of those wrecks, but boy, he did a great job and was our GT pole winner, General Tire pole winner, earlier today and led everybody to the stripe.
Yeah, we saw Shane Lee out front. Kyle Weatherman got out front. Sheldon Creed was up there as well. Michael Self got up and led some laps. Austin Terrio led 1 lap, lap 141, but it pretty much came down to this. The race off of pit lane in the final caution flag scenario, and Dalton Sargent cruised on to his 2nd win of the year.
Yeah, he had a great restart there on the outside. The 77 car made it pay, drove around untouched to pick up the checkered flag for the 2nd time this season. Here's a look at the final results.
Dalton Sargent with the win. Terrio, how about Sheldon Creed? Career best finish with the ARCA Racing Series in 3rd. Michael Self 4th. Kyle Weatherman rounding out your top 5. See Spencer Davis down there in 7th. Brett Holmes and Gus Dean going at it for Rookie of the Year in 9th and 10th.
What about Vinnie Miller, man?
Vinnie Miller had a good run, too.
He had a good run, too. He finished in 6th place there. So Shane Lee, unfortunately, fell down to 11th. Riley Herbst with a bit of a tough round here as well by Riley Herbst standards. So he'll finish up in 12th place as we take a look at the rest of the field.
And that 6th place run for Vinnie Miller, Ken Stout, was his career best with the ARCA Racing Series.
So once again, taking a look at the winner's circle and everybody down there from the Cunningham team supporting the 77 car. Let the water fly. Let's go down there and talk to Dalton Sargent.
A shower down here for Dalton Sargent in victory lane. High fives from the crew. But Dalton, let's go back. You had the lead, and then that caution came out, and you had to hold off your points nemesis, Austin Terrio. Tell me about that battle.
Yeah, that was the last thing that I wanted, was that caution. But at the end of the day, you know, I knew I had great guys behind me at Cunningham Motorsports. We had a great
little cold
Performance Plus motor oil car all day, so you know I couldn't have asked for much more. That was probably one of the best cars that I've ever had to drive. So just an absolute blast out there. So much fun. I can't believe we got the win here in Iowa, back-to-back for the team. So it's just this one's for them, and you know, great pit stops all night. General Tire brought a great tire, so just hats off to everybody. Thank you to Big Time. Thank you to Performance Plus.
Hey, we talked today about this points battle, and you said, hey, I have to put the pressure on that 52. You did that today in a big-time way.
Yeah, I hope we were able to gain at least a couple points on them. You know, try and close up that gap in the championship. That's pretty important, not only for myself, but for all the guys at Cunningham for, you know, working so hard week in and week out in the shop, and, you know, just can't be more than thankful.
Second victory of the year for Dalton Sargent, third in his ARCA career.
And let's take a look at the points here. Keep in mind that Austin Terrio put together a 160-point gap in the first 10 races. There's 10 races yet to go, so this one is not over.
Yeah, he gained 15 on Austin Terrio. And of course, Shane Lee led the most laps. He'll get 5 bonus points as well. Comes into this race 4th in the points. He'll leave Iowa Speedway 4th in the points as well. Austin Terrio again came home in second, his 8th top 5 of the year, and he's down with Bob Dillner.
He's Mr. Consistency, all top 10 finishes for Austin Terrio, your point leader coming out of this race midway through the season. But I know you wanted that victory. What happened on that final restart that prevented you from getting by the 77?
Well, Dalton had a really good car. We saw it on the run before, even on old tires. You know, he took the lead, and we were consistent. We just lacked a little bit, but I'm really happy with the weekend in general. I mean, second place, we blew up a motor right before practice, so we had a little bit of a issue. We got an hour compared to an hour and a half like for everybody else. So all in all, like you said, consistent. That's what wins championships, and it would have been nice to get in victory lane tonight, but we got one last race and second place here, and we just got to keep getting top 5 finishes, and I think we can at least be in contention at the last race. But tires were really good tonight. They dropped off a little bit, but it made the racing really fun, and that's what this track puts on. It puts on good racing. I mean, the groove moved around, top, bottom, searching around, and at the end, like I was going to the bottom, and I was going to the middle, I was going to the top, and he just was a little bit better than us.
Austin Terrio, I'm sure he'll be back in victory lane before too long.
And that speaks volumes about this racetrack as well. How that thing really came in towards the end of the race, racing from the bottom to the top of it. It's part of what makes this thing so exciting when we come here to Iowa. How about Sheldon Creed? A great run for him. Spectacular effort, starting off in 13th place. Let's go down and talk to him.
Sheldon Creed told me today that he's still learning how to drive these ARCA stock cars on an oval track, but for a former off-road racer, this was a whale of a run today. How happy are you right now with the podium finish?
Man, I feel like we can see the light at the end of the tunnel finally. We've been fast. We've been fast in practice. We've been fast in qualifying, and just little things on my part, and just kind of throwing the race away early, and just a bad pit stop, just all these things added up, race after race, lost an alternator. So finally seeing the light at the end of the tunnel, getting the good race in, and it's fun racing up front. I really like it. These guys are fun to race with, and man, it was good to lead a couple laps. We got new tires there. I think there was, 5 of us got new tires really early, and got to the lead and was happy with the car. We felt really good, and there at the end, I would have liked to make a little bit better run on that last restart, but I spun the tires a little bit, and then I think we were just a little off. I think might have put too much air on the tires just to try to get a quick run in there at the end, and just didn't quite have enough for the 77 and 52. But man, this thing has been really good all day, and just got to thank United Rentals, and Ortega RTL Construction, my grandparents, my mom and dad, my whole family's behind us, all the crew guys, Doug, Matt, Philip, Martin, Pat, everyone works really hard on this thing. Jimmy, Mark, these guys have been killing it in the shop lately. So, no, it's good to get a good finish for them, and hopefully we can just keep this ball rolling. I think we got that win coming soon, or I hope so, that we get it soon. So, man, just happy with our run, and looking forward to our next one.
Best career finish for Sheldon Creed.
Always fun to watch for sure behind the wheel of any type of race car. Sheldon Creed. Hey, make sure you never miss a race. Go to mavtv.com/set reminder. Set yourself up to get a notification when any of your favorite racing series are on TV.
So some wicked donuts performed by the Cunningham car, courtesy of Dalton Sargent. As that wraps up the front half of the season, the back half of the season about to begin, and once again, we're going to bring you some exciting races, including a couple of races on the dirt.
Yeah, it's going to be great to go to Springfield, Illinois. That the Illinois State Fairgrounds will also be on the Magic Mile at DeCoin for 2 one-mile dirt oval races with the ARCA Racing Series. For more info, you can find us online at arcaracing.com.
It's been an incredible run here at Iowa and a beautiful night for racing. Hope you enjoyed all the great racing action. For Bob Dillner and Rob Klepper, I'm Ken Stout. Thanks for watching the ARCA Racing Series presented by Menards.
Woo! Good job.